something, to do something more than you thought you comfortably could do. Can you tell us a little bit about the decision-making process that you went through about deciding to do this? Obviously, you kind of kept it under wraps. You prepared with your staff, but nobody publicly knew you were going to do this until you started it.
No, I do really credit constituents who are impatient, who are demanding, who are scared, who are angry, and very understandably taking that anger out on Democrats who have to take some responsibility for being where we are in American history right now. And so the more I thought about it with my team, especially after the decisions we made revolving around the continuing resolution, I've been working so hard with my colleagues trying to get them to engage in social media, put more of their heart and spirit out there. They're doing an amazing job. They've almost quadrupled their numbers of engagement online. I've got colleagues opening up TikTok accounts, but I suddenly realized that I've just got to do something myself. I've got to, try to prove worthy for my constituents that I'm willing to step out and step up in some way, and hopefully be able to share their stories that were so hurtful, and to read from my staff, people rendering their most personal stories about their fears or what's happening to their families. And so my staff and I said, let's try to bring those voices to the Senate floor. Let's see how long you can last. They're demanding something different. This certainly will be different. And I think that a lot of that energy from the folks that I've been seeing in Jersey and across this country really helped carry me through.
I don't know if you are conscious of how much this caught the attention and caught the imagination of the American people. I know that you're not using electronic devices on the Senate floor. You're not watching your TikTok numbers and your YouTube numbers and the C-SPAN contemporaneous viewing numbers while you're there, because you can't be. But every time that I checked any form of media by which you could be live monitored, there were no less than tens of thousands of people watching in the same place that I was in that moment. What you've done with everything else that's going on with this administration and the horrific cuts of 10,000 people fired today from the nation's health agencies and all these other things. This is the biggest story in the country right now. You have captured people's attention for 25 hours. And I'm wondering, for people who were moved by what you did, either among your Senate colleagues or just people who watched you from home, what do you hope they might do differently if they're moved by you and they feel the same sort of spirit that caused you to do what you did?
Well, I hope that we're all served to be ignition points for each other. My constituents, the letters, the calls, the demands were definitely an ignition point for me, but we've got to continue to ignite this movement. The only thing that stopped Donald Trump from tearing away the Affordable Care Act was the engagement of tens of thousands of Americans who didn't think they would become little lobbyists or activists or come down to the Capitol or protest in their communities. Rachel, you and I have known each other a long time, and I've been listening to your show more regularly. I'm so grateful that you're doing this first 100 days. And I love how you start every show by showing what other Americans are doing. They're not waiting for us in Congress to lead. They've decided to take matters into their own hands.
$1 billion checks, literally trying to buy the election, physically doing the buying on TV. So this is just a huge setback for Elon Musk and therefore for Donald Trump.
When I first saw the news at the end of last week that Musk was going to not just put his money into this race, but that he was going to physically go to Wisconsin, do a campaign event, do this stunt where he pays voters and do this whole thing again, I thought, that is great news for the Democrats. Because there are few people in American public life who are as underwater in terms of the way the American public views them as Elon Musk is. But seeing the way that Mr. Musk behaved in Wisconsin, seeing the way that MAGA media portrayed this as something that was actually going to help that candidate there, I started to wonder, maybe I'm looking at the wrong polls. Maybe they're seeing something else that I'm not seeing. Maybe Elon Musk is going to help this guy. But this is to have this margin within less than an hour to have this call within less than an hour of polls closing with the kind of margin it looks like it's going to end up there in Wisconsin. This is just a This is just a kick in the proverbial teeth to the White House and to Mr. Musk.
I had certainly been told not to expect a call before 11 p.m. And therefore, write as much TV show as you want because, you're not going to have the breaking news moment. And it turns out I didn't. You did. And that's important, too, how quickly, and this was called, which is to say how decisive this win has to be at this point.
That's exactly right. And this is going to, they just pulled Elise Stefanik's nomination to be UN ambassador because they were worried about their ability to hold on to her seat, which she just won by 24 points. The Republicans and Elon Musk are in a position right now where they have to worry about seats that have 24-point Republican margins. They have to worry about losing seats like this in a statewide race in a state they just won by what looks to be a decisive margin where you get the call within the hour. The American people are speaking in lots of different ways, but this is the first time they've really had the chance to speak at the ballot box, and it is with an exclamation point.
Well, as we saw Cory Booker in those remarkable 25 hours, one of the things that sustained him, that carried him through it, was something that we've never seen before in a filibuster like this, and that was direct communication from voters while it was happening. Emails, including in the middle of the night last night when I was watching. My favorite time to watch a filibuster is middle of the night, the lonely hours for the senator who's up there speaking. He received a series of emails from Wisconsin, and he was reading those emails from Wisconsin voters that were so powerful about their worries about Social Security, about their future. And I can't help but link those up to what we're seeing in actual expressed voter results tonight in Wisconsin.
Yeah. It also strikes me, Lawrence, that, when Trump was trying to overturn the results of the 2020 election, and he had those dozens and dozens and dozens of failed pseudo-legal efforts to try to get somebody to side with him in overthrowing the election results, the place that he got closest was the Wisconsin Supreme Court. When it was under conservative control before a few years ago, when the liberals sort of took control of that court, they got real close on the Wisconsin Supreme Court to essentially nullifying the vote in Wisconsin on the basis of Trump's fake fraud claims. The idea that we would have gone through that with the Wisconsin Supreme Court in 2020, and then they would have reinstated a new MAGA majority on that court, thanks to Elon Musk coming in with tens of millions of dollars and million-dollar checks for voters, promising that this guy will be a vote for Trump, will be a vote for the MAGA agenda. The counterfactual here, the idea, what we'd be talking about right now, had this race gone the other way, I think would be a really sobering and difficult national story. And instead, what we've got is people saying no to Trump and Musk in a very emphatic way. The Signal group texting about war plans, that scandal is also continuing to blow up, even though they keep trying to pretend either it didn't happen or it's over now. The Wall Street Journal reporting this weekend that this apparently was not the first time that Trump National Security Advisor Michael Waltz had convened a group of Trump cabinet officials in a group chat on this commercial texting app. Quoting from the Wall Street Journal this weekend, quote, 2 U.S. officials also said that Waltz had created and hosted multiple other sensitive national security conversations on Signal with cabinet members, including separate threads on brokering peace between Russia and Ukraine, as well as other military operations. Sources, quote, declined to address if any classified information was posted in those chats. So, yeah, this thing isn't going away. Wait till we find out what all the other ones were. And then there's Pete Hegseth, the Fox News weekend host who Donald Trump appointed to lead the Defense Department. In recent days, we have learned that Pete Hegseth not only posted a detailed timeline of a forthcoming military strike to that group chat on Signal, which inadvertently included a reporter, Pete Hegseth also, according to the Wall Street Journal, quote, brought his wife, a former Fox News producer, to 2 meetings with foreign military counterparts where sensitive information was discussed. The meetings included the Ukraine Defense Contact Group at NATO, a closed-door meeting of that group, more than 50 countries represented there, and also a very sensitive meeting with the British Defense Secretary. Pete Hegseth has been bringing his wife to these meetings? Does she have a security clearance? This is the same wife, you may recall, who Mr. Hegseth brought with him to his meetings with U.S. senators ahead of his confirmation process for this job. That, of course, made it socially awkward for those senators to ask him at those meetings about the rape allegations that he had faced in California and his alleged serial infidelity and problems with drinking on the job. He has denied the rape allegations in California, and, of course, he was never charged in conjunction with those allegations. That said, the Associated Press is also now reporting on the strange circumstance that has arisen at the Pentagon in Mr. Hegseth's short time there, in which not only is he bringing his wife to sensitive meetings with foreign military leaders, but he's also somehow got himself into a situation where his baby brother, his younger brother, Phil, has also ended up on the plane to Guantanamo with Pete Hegseth, and also on the plane last week to Hawaii. What is his little brother doing there? Good question. Quote, based on Phil Hegseth's publicly available resume, his past experience includes founding his own podcast production company. Okay, so naturally it makes sense that he's now paid by the U.S. taxpayers to go everywhere with his brother, the defense secretary, who has assured us that he definitely won't drink on the job anymore and who apparently thinks it's okay to bring his wife to NATO meetings. This follows Mr. Hegseth also giving a naval officers commission to his personal lawyer and telling him that now Pete Hegseth's personal lawyer will now be in charge of reforming all lawyering in the U.S. military. He's just named him an officer.
That, like, Maddow is enjoying this. And, of course, I am, too. And it's important to realize how big of a rebuke this is for Trump and Musk, because they've really made themselves the linchpin. They have. They've said, whether it's this Supreme Court election, the special elections, what have you, that, like, you are voting for the Trump-Musk agenda. And it seems like they're so delusional that they think that's actually a good thing. That with them being unpopular, their decisions being unpopular, that making it all about them is what's going to change the game. Well, it did change the game, and indeed weakened Republicans. Now, again, what we've seen in some races is that Republicans still held on. Like, ultimately, at the end of the day, they still kept the seat. But it bodes poorly when, say, a plus 20 Trump district from the recent presidential election ends up being half that. Or a plus 30 Trump district becomes a plus 12 Trump district, right? This matters. This Supreme Court election wasn't even close. It was done well before 10 p.m., at least according to some projections. Because the vote wasn't that close, and then all the cities started coming in where more Democrats tend to live. And so all of this, guys, really demonstrates how Trump is failing and how this is utterly humiliating. Remember, this whole second term was about a few things for Trump. Revenge, staying out of prison, and ego. And at least with ego, he's been shown to be a loser, and it's shattering his ego.